everyone, and welcome to the September Stitch and Bitch.
Woo.
Yay!
Let's go through and introduce ourselves again. For those of you who this is your first time, welcome to the the BookTube SFF Stitch and Bitch. It's where we do yarn things and we BS about the book world. It's great. Why don't we start with Rhea? Why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, so I'm Rhea. I'm from the channel The Bookfinch. I am participating from Finland, where it's 9 p.m. right now. And are we going to show our work right now, or are we just going to...
Sure, why don't you show it now?
Okay, I'm working on my Hufflepuff scarf, which is like slowly getting along.
Nice.
And yeah, that's me.
Okay. Di, you want to go?
Sure. I'm Diana. I'm in the Pacific Northwest. My channel is Bookish Di, and right now I'm working on my massive blanket that I've been working on for the last few months.
Ooh,
That's so
nice.
pretty.
That's really
so
pretty.
nice.
Yeah.
Rachel?
Hello, I'm Rachel. My channel is Colonati, and this thing is getting really big. This is what I'm working on. This is my book blanket, my reading tracker, and I've got like 6 inches to add to it today because I'm really far behind on adding books.
I'm Claire. I make booktube videos on the channel Claire Russo. I'm in London, where it's 7 p.m. right now, and I am not working on my book blanket because it requires a lot of concentration. I don't have it when I'm talking to you lovely people. I'm making this scarf from this lovely yarn that I bought in Dublin at Worldcon, and please avert your eyes, but I've managed to ruin the ball of yarn so bad.
Oh no.
So anyway, it's a really simple, it's a really simple, like straight up and down kind of scarf.
Yeah, nice.
Which I got for knitting while I want to also concentrate on talking and no panels.
I love it. My channel is Bree Reads Books. You maybe know that because you're here. And I'm working on it's a shawl with this kind of, it's called a dragon belly pattern. So it looks like that.
I was wondering what that was because I saw you had that added on Ravelry.
Yeah, it's on Ravelry. By the way, for anybody who uses Ravelry, we have started a Ravelry group for people who watch this.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so you can join us and show us the things that you're making, which I think would be fun. Okay, so what should we talk about right now?
I have a confession to make.
I need to hear your confession.
Regarding the book blanket. I have completely given up on my book blanket because I've been procrastinating with it for like the past 6 months. So I've just decided to put it aside and just make a random quilted blanket out of it at some point. But my ADD just can't handle the pressure of trying to hold a project like this for the whole year. So I just needed to come clean.
That is completely fair.
I think that's a really common thing for people who do trackers or temperature blankets. Like within a couple of months, you forget about it, or you're not interested
It was so
anymore.
good for the first like 3, and then I was like, okay, I can handle this. I can work during, like, I can do it in bulk. And then the longer the months went on, the less I now it's in a cupboard. Now it's like stashed somewhere, like in some corner of my craft cupboard, and like they're hiding in shame.
Ah, Chelsea.
Hey, Chelsea.
Hi.
Okay, she can't hear us.
You can hear us yet.
So in fairness, I did pull out my book tracking blanket to do earlier this week, and I have to add about like 40 rows because I haven't done it in that long. But
It really
that's okay.
helps if you unmute your computer. Hi, friends. What's up? How's everybody?
Good. Chelsea, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, guys. I'm Chelsea. I'm from the Reading Outlaw. Hello.
Chelsea's lovely.
What are
I
you
try.
making?
I am working on the world's most tedious sleeve. I hate double-pointed needles with a passion. So I've been working on, it's my Wesley Crusher sweater,
Nice.
which is going to be awesome. But if I ever finish the sleeves, we'll see.
Sleeves are hard.
I usually use like the teeny tiny, like little 9-inch double point or circular needles, but they make my wrists hurt like a ton, and my carpal tunnel's been flaring up, so I have to use the double points,
That's
which
fair.
is a bummer.
I mean, sleeves
Yeah.
are the reason why most of my sweaters turn into vests at some point.
Yeah, I had a brief moment when I was trying it on as a vest where I was like, it really doesn't look that bad. But like the odds of me wearing it as a vest are much slimmer than if I actually just do the sleeves.
So my partner and I are watching Next Generation for the first time. I've seen it before many, many times. He has not.
Oh
And-
no.
We're having this problem where like we'll get to a part and I'll be like, this is important for later. And then he guesses why it's important.
Oh,
And I'm like, no, I'm just excited for you to watch.
Right?
Stop knowing how I think.
I'm
Stop
invested
knowing how
in your
TV works.
reactions.
Right? Oh, man.
Like, I remember when I was introducing Next Generation to one of my friends, and she was constantly like telling plot points like mere moments before they happened, and it completely ruined my anticipation of her reactions. And I was like,
Yeah, it's just hard with the show like TNG that was on so long ago and was on for so long that like it became like foundational in its own set of tropes, and so like we've then seen those tropes in other things. So then when you see them in TNG, you're like,
yeah, I
but
mean,
it's the original, but also like we've seen this a million times, and it's very easy to guess what's going to happen.
I've never seen Space Odyssey, but I know everything because of all the memes.
Yeah.
It has been fun for like every time he sees a GIF that he's like familiar with from the internet, he's like, that's the GIF. And I'm like, yes, it is.
Yeah. It's fun. I love that show. I'm considering rewatching it before the Picard
Yeah.
show comes out because
That's
of
why
course.
we're watching it, is because I was like, there's no way that you can live in my house and not see the no.
Yeah.
I actually never watched TNG other than like a couple of isolated episodes. Like I've seen the movies aside from Nemesis, but like Voyager and DS9 were always my tracks.
Yeah, I'm a big Voyager fan.
I screamed when 7 of 9 showed up in the Picard trailer.
I know, right? I was so excited. I literally called my mom and was like, Mom, have you seen the trailer? Jerry Ryan's in the trailer. Watch it right now.
I have a confession to make. I still haven't seen the Picard trailer. I'm feeling really jaded about remakes and continuations of old stuff that I love.
I mean, that's
And
fair.
I'm finding it
Yeah.
really hard to be excited about anything where I'm like, I like completed stories that are done. You know?
Yeah, there's something to be said about something just being complete as it is and not expecting more. I mean, it's reasonable to want more, but you know.
I would possibly check out Picard though, purely because I love Patrick Stewart.
Oh
And
yes.
Like, I don't necessarily care that it's Star Trek. Like,
He is-
boo me
he
if
is
you
our-
want to,
our
but it
space
has
dad.
Patrick Stewart in it.
Also, I love that he has
We have
a
another
kid
friend,
role.
friends.
Hi,
Yeah, this little stinker would not nap in her chair, so she's gonna be hanging out with us. Say hello to the internet, baby.
Hello, this is not
Hello,
technically your
Bubba.
internet debut, but this is your live show debut, baby.
Very close, right? Don't mess it up. No, I'm just kidding. Don't cry into the microphone and we'll be chill, right, baby?
I mean, speaking of babies, I'm waiting for a message any moment now from my sister whether she's going to have her baby or not. We've been
Oh.
waiting for a week extra now, but the little brother is not yet come out. They're like, yeah, I'm just hanging in here.
That's so exciting, though.
It's the first grandchild and the first nephew for everyone. So like
So that's really exciting. Like that's
Yeah.
extra cool.
yeah. I mean I already went and splurged for like all of the picture books about astronauts and turtles going into space.
That's
You
really
should
nice.
you should get but not the hippopotamus. That one's a classic.
Oh. And I need to I
would say, if
will
you
take
Baby books,
and
Maria, I
all-
can like hook you up with the recommendations on.
Yeah,
baby.
I will take any and all inclusive children's book recommendations.
Yeah, I'm really excited. The local bookstore to us has had like an adult book subscription program for a while, but they just opened it up to like kids books and board books for infants.
Mm.
So I'm a sucker for a subscription box. So we'll probably be hopping on board that train here pretty soon.
My favorite.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say my favorite kids book that I've never actually read it, but I see Amazon suggests it to me all the time. Is A is for Anarchy,
Mhm.
and it's a like political theory like baby board book where it goes through all the letters.
That
We have
sounds
one
great.
like that.
You
We
need
have
to
one
get
called
that
Kids
because
for
it's
Democracy.
totally on brand for you.
Oh my god.
I think
That actually sounds so like that sounds like something that I would chew on and read.
Yeah, I have a secret theory that those books are actually not for babies and they are for adults.
No.
Yeah.
They're totally for the adults.
That's fine. Like whatever. The baby won't not benefit from having a board book, and if it also happens to be about anarchy, like so much the better.
I mean,
guys, I actually have my childhood favorite baby books. 1 second.
Oh my gosh, go
Oh,
get
of
it.
course you do. That's so awesome, Rachel.
do I need to go and grab the book that I bought because I will and I will be right back.
Okay.
My parents were gonna get rid of these. I had to rescue them from the donate pile.
Never.
Piggies.
Oh.
I think I had this one memorized at a certain point.
Piggies.
Probably also the reason why I used to like imagine my hands were characters, like flying animals when I was a kid. Probably because of this book.
Probably, but that's cool.
And
I
then two bad babies.
Ooh, those look like bad babies. Look at that
Looks like
cover.
the art style.
I don't know how much I love this one as a kid. My parents say I loved it, but my parents liked it because it's about twins, a boy and a girl, and I have a twin brother. And the dad in the story works in a bookstore. And when I was a kid, my dad used to work in a bookstore. So it was like reading about our family.
That's really
I
cool.
love
So
it.
cool.
That's really awesome.
It's so fun.
Yeah, Will is old enough. We're finally starting like beginner chapter books, and we're listening to the BFG on audio right now. So
I got
It's super great.
this one.
What is it? Julian is a mermaid.
Julian is a mermaid. It's about a boy who wants to be a mermaid, but mermaids are all girls. And it has this like really cool art style.
Mhm.
Like, it's so cool.
Ooh, that's pretty.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, you might also really like a picture book called Worm Loves Worm, which is about two worms who want to get married, and all their friends keep telling them they have to pick a bride and a groom, and they're like, but we can both be the bride and the groom because we're both just worms and we love each other.
This is like super like inclusive, like when it comes to like various bodies and stuff.
I love that.
They
Yeah,
just came out with a picture book that's a picture book explainer of like gender non-binary identity that we'll probably get for Christmas.
Yeah.
There's also one that Rhea, because this is your sister who's a tattoo artist.
Yes. Yes.
There's one that's why does mommy have tattoos? And like the answers are like, because cupcakes are awesome. Because
I need to get that for her.
I'll send you a
Because
link. because
she
I-
loves that because like both of them, like both my brother-in-law and my sister are like hugely tattooed. Like they're like full body tats, basically. So but yeah,
That's
Oh, so KJ says in the chat that Emily Lakdawala does Facebook recommendations for kids. I gotta look into that.
Ooh.
Oh, cool.
Doesn't
I
she
want to look into
book
that.
on the Mars Curiosity rover? Or am I misremembering that?
Man, Streamyard is so good.
I really wanted to get that book. Maybe
But
KJ.
I love going to the picture book section at Barnes & Noble and just look around. There's so many beautiful things that are coming out in picture book these days.
I mean, I started collecting picture books years ago when there was no nephew in sight, and now I just have a more legitimate excuse.
Bree, what are you eating? I'm looking like, oh man, I want a snack now.
They're Halloween Oreos,
What?
Nice.
which technically the cream is supposed to be exactly the same flavored, but
It's not. That is a lie.
Right?
I am
They're so much
an
better.
Oreo connoisseur. Like I kind of make it a point. That is a lie.
Yeah.
There's less of it, and it tastes different.
Mhm.
So
Chelsea, I will have you know that your recommendation of the Bones coffee caused me
it's
to
so
make
good.
an order.
Oh, Ray, it's so good. That's what this is. I have literally like an entire. No, okay, no, it wasn't an entire 32 ounces because there was ice in here and it melted. But like,
I mean, it's so expensive, to ship
oh,
to
sure.
ship
I hadn't
to
even
Europe.
thought
But
about
at the
international
same
shipping.
time, I'm a sucker for amazing packaging. So like,
I just love it because they have so many different flavors that I would never put with a coffee, but they end up being so delicious. Their key lime pie flavor is like some
I
of
mean,
the best.
I got the salted caramel one.
They have salted caramel. Every Valentine's Day, they have a chocolate raspberry one that, like, I want to be buried in a coffin full of chocolate raspberry coffee beans from Bones Coffee. They smell so good.
So jealous of your giant coffee, Chelsea.
I mean, don't be fair. I am wrecking
7:30.
unfixable havoc on my adrenal system. So it's not a healthy way to live. But, what are you going to do?
I mean, we got a real like barista coffee maker earlier this year, and there's no going back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're thinking.
Like my coffee addiction has gone like off the rails since then.
Yeah, I just am a little bit of, it's just like it's become a hobby. So I have like 4 different ways to prep it, just like chilling in my kitchen. So it becomes like the whole, like, the tea drinkers know too, like the routine of doing all the steps and the assembly of all the things is like half of the actual fun of actually getting the coffee at the end of it.
Yes.
So.
The small child has opinions on coffee.
Yeah,
Apparently.
I just ignore it. She's just chatting away, man. This is how I spend a fair good chunk of my daytime hours. So. Hey.
Well, we're always interested in hearing her opinions on coffee.
Not yet. Not yet. No ideas.
Yeah, you can just slip some decaf into her bottle. It'll be fine.
I mean,
Do you think Chelsea has
had
decaf
in
in
utero
her house?
coffee. I mean, like you are allowed to have coffee while pregnant, so she is not completely foreign to the entity of the substance.
Man, I think my mom is sad that the whole "you can have coffee while pregnant" came out after she had my sister and I. Because
yeah, I'm sure there's a whole generation of women who heard it and were like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Are you serious? Now we know. Like now we figured it out." But I also got so many dirty looks from like everybody at Starbucks whenever I would go in, and I would always just want to wear my shirt that's like, "The doctor says it's fine. Don't look at me." Oh,
I bet you would sell 100,000.
I probably
T-shirt.
would if I just made a "The doctor says it's fine" t-shirt.
Yeah.
Probably.
Oh yeah, not just for like pregnant ladies either.
Right. So for all the things.
Sidehustle.com.
No, I did just buy TeePublic was having a sale, so I did just buy a bunch of new t-shirts. So
nice.
yeah, I'm really excited for the one that says Bucky and Steve, not Adam and Eve, but it's slightly sacrilegious, so it's fine.
I need to hit up the Star Wars Rep Matters TeePublic because they just launched theirs and they have like a bunch of like I Rebel shirts in different rainbows, including the Ace one. So I need to get that.
That's nice.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
I'm just such a sucker for like if it's not Depop, like if it's not secondhand, then like at least at T-Pop, like the indie artist gets a cut of every like t-shirt that they sell and stuff. So if it's going to be new, at least it's going to support like an indie creator.
I mean, I purchase a lot of like stuff from like T Fury and
Mhm.
QWERTY, which is basically like they like the artist gets a cut from every shirt like they sell. Like if the shirt sells a lot, then the artist gets more and more royalties from the print
that's
that they
cool.
design.
That's cool.
But at the same time, it's still like you're getting like T-shirts for cheap. So I try to limit myself on how many T-shirts I buy because I know that the T-shirts themselves are probably not ethically sourced.
Yeah.
So that's always like the double-edged sword of fast fashion is always like.
That's why I've been trying so much. So like there's a Ross right by our house and like of course the Salvation Army. I actually just like there's a company where you can buy used clothes by the pound. It was an Instagram ad, very targeted at my super gay ass because they were like, do you just want a bunch of used flannel shirts? Like really good ones? They're all worn in and soft and like they're just flannel. And I was like, yes, Instagram, I want exactly that thing. So I got like 10 new flannel shirts for $40 and I was like set for the winter time.
Speaking of very targeted Instagram ads, I've been seeing the Snuggle Buddy Instagram ad for like these hug pillows that are shaped like cats for the last like 2 weeks, and like every time I see the ad, I'm like, I want one, but I don't have to give into peer pressure.
Have you ever gone in and looked at what Instagram like targets at you? Because you can look at the things that they.
Wait, really?
You
yeah,
can
you
see
can
the
look at
things.
like the keywords or whatever that are like triggering your ads in your search location or
I
whatever.
know I definitely get like
I'm gonna turn around.
I get pet stuff like both dogs and cats.
Yeah,
I get a lot of like cat stuff.
if you go under your settings, it's in your security settings, and like access data, and
I'm looking at this now. I want to know.
it'll tell you all of the different things. So like, let's see, ads. Yeah. So if you go to your settings, it's in security, access data. It's the very last thing. Like they definitely, I don't know why they decided to put this on there, but they chose to.
I wonder if it's part of the GDPR.
No,
Maybe
because
it
I
was.
bet Instagram's not based in Europe.
Yeah, but they still, if they have operations in Europe, they have to commit to like.
Mine has American
they have
football,
European
and
user.
I am just astounded because I don't like American football.
So
I
mine has first person shooter games, which is not me at all. Right next to like the next thing on it is veganism, which is funny to me.
See, my Instagram hasn't figured out that I'm vegan, but it has figured out that I like yarn.
I wonder where it would get that idea.
Well, and you know, all the expensive versus not expensive things the algorithm could learn about you. Like, aren't you so glad it learned to shove really expensive yarn ads like in your face all the time for pretty yarn things? It's great.
How much money have I spent on nice yarn this year?
Dude, I just have
That's
that
not
nitpicks
too bad.
edition because they have so many colors and their shipping is fast that I'm just like,
Yeah, I'm considering subscribing to the
I'm going to show
Nitpick.
this to you guys.
I'm
Um,
considering
the nitpicks what?
subscription box. I kind of want to do that.
I
I've
don't
been
have
at it.
that.
I'm buying the one from my local yarn store.
I wanna
for the
do-
Christmas one.
Is that
I
the
want
one
to
you
do
were
the
telling me?
advent calendar one.
Yeah, that's the one that Bree's talking about from the yarn store.
Yeah.
That's like a Christmas advent calendar. They pre-mail you like the whole like month's worth of stuff, and then you get to open them, which is a combination of Christmas and subscription boxes. But makes my heart so happy.
I have started watching a ton of crochet podcasts on YouTube, and I stumbled across this
Danger
channel
girl.
called Chemnitz. It's a lady named Rebecca, and she does yarn dyeing, including live shows where she does it live, and she sells her yarn on Etsy.
That's so cool. What'd you buy?
Late at night when I couldn't sleep, my finger slipped on the buy button.
I hate that pesky finger.
So I got this one,
Ooh.
and this is one that she did on air, I think in her August live show.
Mhm.
You can see the video where it's done. And I thought that was really cool. And I got a matching green.
Ooh, that's really pretty.
It's got that same brown in it. So they go really well together, even though they were dyed at like completely separate times.
What are you going to do with them? Do you have an idea? Do you know?
I don't know. I want to make this really long, like rectangular wrap called the Ziggy Interrupted shawl. But it takes 5 full skeins of fingering weight yarn, so
That's a lot.
2,000 yards basically of fingering weight yarn in 5 colors. So this is 2, and I do 3 other colors, and I'm terrible at picking out colors that go together.
See, you
No,
said
you're
that,
not.
but you see
You
that.
always
We've
do
seen
that.
you pick out
All of
colors
your
before.
colors
They
are
look pretty.
I don't know. Like if I have the colors in front of me, I can put them together in a nice way. But if I have to fill in the blanks with something, I don't know. So
I always look at like wedding color swatches or like paint swatches on Instagram. That's what I go to for those.
Yeah,
because
I mean-
then they will just like put that together.
I've been trying to
Exactly.
find something that if I like put in these colors into a generator, it might tell me what are like complementary colors or something. I don't know.
Oh, I guarantee you there's some like art website that if you find whatever color is closest to it would spit out like
Yeah.
complementary colors or whatever.
Or, like,
that
you
I
could do,
really
like,
like
a-
to use.
Hmm?
Sorry. One website that I really like to use is Coolors, so Coolors. It's basically like has like 6 to 5 colors, and you randomly generate colors, and then you can lock the ones you like, and then keep regenerating until you have a full color palette that you like.
Yes, that's one I found. Yeah.
That's really awesome.
Okay, so I just checked my Instagram ads and it figured out that I like DIYs and chocolate, but also it's giving me first person shooter, thriller movies, and basketball.
I will take basketball.
I know you will, but
My
I
guess is that the
have never
FPS
seen
would be
any
some
basketball
amount of
aside from
bleed through
High
what
School
John does.
Musical. So
Yeah, well, like I said, I got American football, and I also have fashion, which I don't understand.
I have
It's like-
Nerd
shopping
fashion.
no,
Nerd
not
fashion
even.
is still fashion.
Well, I might get that because I follow her universe on Instagram.
That is
but-
absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And Claire, my guess would be any video game stuff is somehow just weird bleed over from John's life
Yeah.
into your algorithm.
yeah, but I don't know. It's
Like, I don't know
how on my
No one knows
Instagram.
how. Nobody knows. We don't know how it works. We just know.
Okay.
that Google
I
does
also
it, and
have
we see
rhythm and
it.
blues and reality TV.
I will take reality TV. I will be shocked if that's not in
Yeah,
mine.
but
Considering that Instagram is owned by Facebook, Facebook probably
Yeah.
has some sort of like they sell and buy data based on like.
Well, and if you're
What-
connected to
what
John in
is
any way, especially on Facebook, or to Miniature Nerd at all on Facebook in any way, I'm sure it just
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
a thing.
it's not. I mean, I know that's probably what it is. I just think it's funny.
It is
because,
very
like,
odd,
it's not, like he doesn't actually do FPS that much
Mhm.
either.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a style of game. It's just a genre of game that sells very well. So they do try to sell it to people, but
Yeah.
it's not really.
I like mine also has goats and plastic pollution.
I mean, like, but yeah.
I mean,
I mean, you have chickens, so it's not
Yeah,
like
the
goats are that much of a step
Also,
farther.
Oregon.
Yeah, also Oregon. The goats make sense.
wait, what about Oregon?
Oh, we keep making fun of Brie because she
People
should
thought
move
I was
to
from
Oregon.
Oregon. Like there were a number of people who were convinced I was from Oregon. And I was like, I'm kind of from the Oregon of the Midwest. Like,
Vaguely liberal with deep racist roots. I mean, I don't know.
I
Sorry,
mean,
no shit on Oregon.
no,
much love. Much
no,
love to Oregon.
Chelsea, that is
Grimace
that is really
face.
accurate. As someone who currently lives in Oregon, that is really accurate.
Yeah, like I can't help. I don't want to like shit on people's parade, but I can't help anytime people are like the liberal enclave of Portland. I want to be like, somebody needs to fact check some quick history of Oregon and why it's mostly white.
there
Like,
was
it's getting better. I'm sure it's getting better, and there are a lot of really good things that Portland has, like quality wise, but also like.
Oh, I was just making fun of Brie for being a person who raises goats and has bees.
I mean, yeah, Brie is Portlandia come to life, but Portlandia and Portland are not actually the same thing, unfortunately.
Bree, do you
So-
put birds on things?
birds on things.
Do you put a bird on it?
It's a Portlandia reference.
Goats are
Brie is the person who, like, if I ever again decide to come to like the United States, Brie is the person I want to visit because like Brie's life goals. Like every time I watch your posts on Instagram, like bees and stuff, I'm like, I want bees, I want chickens, I want this life.
I have been told that I somehow live a weird Disney princess life because I was like, I'm going to my blacksmithing class right after my aerial.
Like, I love your life.
exercise.
I live vicariously through all the time, but I feel like anybody who says that's never actually met a chicken or lived with a
Oh,
chicken
yeah.
or
Chickens
owned a
are-
chicken or been around a chicken for more than like half an hour at a time.
Yeah. I mean, my friend currently like has like she takes in rescue chickens,
Mhm.
and I sometimes go and help her out, like feed them and stuff. And let's just say they're like snarky bitches, those chickens.
Snarky dumb bitches. I love chickens, but they're dumb.
My
They're not
father-
Depends on the breed, though. Depends on the breed. The really
Yeah.
heavy egg-laying breeds are dumb as shit. But then for example, there's this like Finnish natural breed that's like super like
Heritage breeds are awesome.
preserved as it
And they're
was like
beautiful.
100 years ago, and they're like super shrewd. And they
Yeah.
don't trust you. Like they will just look at you like this when you approach, and like, I know you're up to something. I don't
See, I'm
trust
the same
anything
with cats.
you say.
Like, I get enough judgment from people on the day to day. When I come home with a pet, I need that pet to love me unobjectively, without any reservations, no matter what.
So
My dog is always happy to see me. I don't need to come in and be like, "Come here, kitty," and have the cat be like, "No."
That's what
I
my
don't
partner
feel
is
like
for.
it. What do you mean you don't feel like it? I'm your owner. You are my pet. So I don't do
Look, cats remember they were worshipped as gods and expect to be treated accordingly.
I know. And dogs have
Yeah.
literally been raised to be completely dependent on people. I get it. I'm just saying. That's why I'm a dog person.
Uh,
But how
So-
will you know if there are ghosts in your house?
Babies. The baby. The baby stares at spirits in the corner all the time. Mark
Okay,
hates it 'cause I
not
will ask
all
the
of us have
"What do
baby
you
cells.
see?" Well, okay, yeah, fine. But like everyone needs their own method of ghost detection. I just don't need a cat because I have a baby. Fine.
Babies are
But
babies
then
forever,
again-
Chelsea.
those of us who don't have babies have some sort of animal in the house. So
There you go.
maybe it's a sign.
Oh, you guys all have spirits. Don't play. Don't play. There's spirits all up in everybody's business because that's just the world we live in. What's everybody reading? I don't think we've actually talked about like very many.
Yeah, we haven't yet.
Sorry, we just got distracted by the Instagram.
Oh, I don't care. I'm worried about the legions of adoring fans who are tuning in for our bookish content right now. I don't want to leave them hanging.
I am in the
Becky
midst of
Chambers,
a
we
red.
love Becky-
Did you finish it?
Yes.
Sorry, what?
So I just finished reading. To Be Taught If Fortunate, which is
I
a new
just
Becky
bought that
Chambers novella.
yesterday.
Oh my god, my finger slipped and I bought all the Becky Chambers books that I didn't have, including To Be Taught If Fortunate. It's so good.
It's really, really good. I don't want to talk about it too much, obviously, because if people haven't read it yet. But like, I finished it and I was like, "Holy shit!"
I didn't mean to buy any books yesterday, but my
Your
indie
finger slipped.
had it on a table, and I'm like, you put it out so nicely for me. I have to.
How did they know you were coming?
I know.
Crazy.
Instagram told them.
I'm
I
always
mean-
a little worried when authors do things that are outside their existing series for the first time. So like she's stepping away from Wayfarers, but like
I
She
mean,
was
speaking
so
of
good.
Becky
Just-
Chambers,
I will
like the
say,
entire idea of soma forming, I just think is such a cool concept.
I love this soma forming concept. I think that there are people who are going to be upset at the ending of that book,
yeah.
but I really liked it. And yes, no, I know, Rachel, you did not like the ending.
I have thoughts, and they're all very spoilery.
Yeah, same. I
Okay,
mean,
in as
yeah,
little
yeah,
spoiler way as possible, did you not like that a decision was presented, or did you not like the ultimate choice that was like come to? Can you answer that without like being too spoilery? I know that this is really hard.
I don't like when people ask other people to make decisions for them.
That's valid.
Okay,
And
this is
most,
like
especially if it has to do with your work, your well-being, your possible death. Like, oh yeah, we're just gonna let you guys decide this big momentous thing. And like, I understand the context of why they're doing that, and they're much more selfless and serving humanity than I am, I guess. But there's no way I would let somebody else make that decision for me. I just thought it was
No,
kind
that's
of
fair.
cop-out.
That's very valid. Like,
having no context and wanting to wait until like a week from now when I read it, I'm going to say Ixnay on the ending train.
oh no, yeah, that's all I'm gonna like say about it, because I just like I've talked to several people who like there seems to be like different kinds of issues that people can have with the way that the ending plays out. So I'm always just intrigued about like what it is about it that like rubs people the wrong way or the right way, because I really loved it and I thought that it worked perfectly with all the rest of like the context that's been set up. But like it will very much so like your mileage may vary.
Yeah, well, different things for different folks.
The only thing I'm going to say that's not spoilery is like basically in the past other books with similar endings I have not liked, and if you had told me the ending ahead of time I would have said like this is not a thing that I'm gonna like, but actually like it worked for me in that instance and I was surprised that it did. So we've got Caitlin and Shannon in the chat.
I know.
I mean, I'm currently picking up A Closed and Common Orbit by Becky Chambers, so speaking of.
Hey Caitlin, we miss you. But yeah, I'm actually rereading like To Be Taught If Fortunate, which is an A+ title, especially when you see like where it comes from. But the mental health content over the whole course of that book,
So good.
I find so fascinating and so good. So I'm going back to her Wayfarer books and doing like a close read and seeing what of those like similar like themes and kind of traits and stuff I can like tease out of it, which is very interesting because like I love A Closed and Common, or Long Way to a Smaller Planet so much, but going back and rereading it, having just read like now after she's written and published like 3 other major things, like you can tell that like there has been growth like over as like a writer in the course of her process, which is good. That's always good to see. And I definitely like don't dislike Long Way, but it definitely is like reading it now, I'm like, yeah, it's a first book. You can tell a little bit that like it was her first major published work. So
I loved it though.
Me too. I love it so much.
much.
I love it just as much this time, and like I'm very excited to go through all of them. But you can definitely tell a little bit.
When I read that book, I was like basically inhaling it. Like I couldn't put it down because like that. Like, and I'm probably not the person who. Like I wouldn't say I reach out for sci-fi very much. I'm more of a like fantasy reader. So like I feel like Chambers' work is very easy to digest for people who are like maybe newcomers.
Yeah.
Or because it's more like based on social sciences, which is like my forte. I love humanities and social sciences. In case you couldn't tell.
And I love it because like they're definitely not like hard sci-fi, but they're not always soft sci-fi. Like she puts enough science in her books, but not at the expense of or neglect of like her human characters.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of science.
Or just like all of her character and like the emotional arc, which like as a not always sci-fi reader is the thing that like I love about her books. But she's delightful. I mean, she let Bree and Rachel and I come and like fangirl all over her general person at Worldcon the year we met her, and like she was just a delightful human. So
she is really lovely.
I mean, I recently read Solaris by Stanislav Lem, and that was on the threshold of being too hard sciencey for me. Like I just like it took me. It's a 200-page book, and it took me almost 2 weeks to read it because I was just like, constantly overwhelmed with the science.
I have so many recommendations if you're like, I want science fiction that explores the social aspect of humans. Oh my God. I will give you a list.
You can
hit me up with that. I just finished Remnant Population by Elizabeth Moon to talk about with Books and Pieces, Elizabeth, for a thing we're doing. And that was also like super awesome. And that's an older piece of SF that deals with like gender, women's roles, the advent of the population and technology and stuff. So All
Also-
for it.
The Dispossessed.
The Dispossessed is great.
Yeah.
Anytime you can read
I
Le
love
Guin.
the Dispossessed.
I really liked the, I think if you're looking for social stuff, The Gate to Women's Country, I think, is a really interesting one.
Is that Sherry Tepper?
Yeah, it's Sherry Tepper.
Okay.
Gate to
I
Women's
saw-
Country, you say.
I saw an announcement the other day of like a TV show adaptation of something called Grass, and I thought it was Sherry Tepper Grass, and it was Stephen King. And I was just like,
Stephen King has a book called Grass.
well, Stephen
Well,
King
he has a lot
and
of books.
See, here I go feeling like I'm the fucking Stephen King fan, and the dude just won't stop putting out books all the goddamn time, and then I miss
Stephen King
them.
and Joe Hill have a collaboration called The Grass, I think. And that's how
It might be
was.
because I've not read any of his collaborations with his kid yet. I find
Is
that
Will-
interesting, like
Joe or
artistically. I
Michelle?
find it interesting that his father and son, they like write and publish together occasionally.
Is that with Joe or is that with Owen? Because he has
that's
two
with
boys,
Joe.
both right, and I know he wrote one with his son Owen as well.
It's that one is with Joe Hill, but I mean, keep I have it as a potential item for genre-wise. I'm sure I'm sure I'm going to talk about it at some point. So
Well, and King just turned 74, 75, something like that. He just had his birthday like a day or two ago. So
yeah,
I will have you know that I'm like writing down like some of the things that are mentioned in the chat, and I will post the list on Twitter later. So if people want to like have the recommendations somewhere.
Nice.
I guess it's in the tall grass.
oh,
Okay.
maybe I don't know. Someone sent me a link as like this is interesting news to put in your news show. And I was just like, sweet, Sherry Tepper adaptation, and then it wasn't. So. I haven't actually read the article yet. Okay. In case you couldn't tell, folks, I'm really tired, and I've had one coffee the entire day today. So,
What else are people reading though? So we've talked about To Be Taught at
Becky
Fortnite.
Chambers.
Yeah.
Which I think was Claire's currently
Yeah.
read. All of us, but I think Claire like originally mentioned it.
yes.
What are other people reading?
I'm currently reading Sal and Gabby Break the Universe by Carlos Hernandez. I'm doing the Latinx book bingo. And one of the challenges is on cover rep, and I needed something that I knew was going to be on the snarky side this week. And so far, it's been delivering. Sal is a little shit, and I love him.
I wondered, is that part of the Rick Riordan line
Yeah.
that he's doing?
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
part of the Rick Riordan Presents line. And it's a lot of fun. It's like different universe. The multiverse is involved.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm not super far in yet, but I'm enjoying it so far.
I love the Rick Riordan Presents line. That's like anytime we
been
get
really good.
releases for his stuff, I'm like always bookmarking those books because so far every single one has been pretty on
I
point.
also recently read the new October Day book, and I have some thoughts about one of the characters.
Yeah, no
and-
spoilers. No spoilers.
No,
Some of
I'm
us
not
are still
saying that-
patiently working
no.
our way through the 18 Toby Day books or however many.
But I
there
will. But looking at the book discussion post on her website, other people have similar thoughts that I do. So I'm glad I'm not reading too much into things.
If you've
Fair.
read them and you have thoughts, go find Di. Go find Di on the internet. She will talk to you.
Yeah, I will talk to you. I need to do a big series reread soon once I get the second book back from the person I lent it to.
I just I have the giant Hugo bind up that they put out 2 years ago, last year, whenever the Toby Day series
This
was
year.
up. She put them all out
Or
as
no, 2 years ago. That they
2 years
they
ago.
didn't do it this year.
So I'm slowly working my way through, and every time I read one, I love it. But then there are just so many other things all the time that need to be read for reasons, and I'm just like, I'll never finish.
Yeah. No, I feel that. Ugh. I'm
I'm
reading.
just working. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh,
Continue.
you go. You go.
I'm just working my way through my Space Opera September TBR.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like A Closed and Common Orbit by Becky Chambers and Bobble 17 by Samuel R. Delaney are the two that I'm currently reading, and I just finished Ancillary Justice yesterday, and I have a lot of thoughts on Ancillary Justice, especially
That's just mainly, it's so good.
But I feel like I want to do a whole video discussion on the book itself because
Do it.
as a person who is from a language that is gender neutral and doesn't have gender pronouns or gender anything, the way ancillary justice is written and how it centers gender and decenters it is interesting to me.
Yeah.
So like I have a lot of thoughts based on how it deals with language and culture. So
Yeah.
Make a
And the
video
use
on
of
it.
language and culture is so interesting in that book.
Yeah.
Was that your first time reading it?
yeah,
I'm so excited to see
I
your
really
video.
like it.
I'm so excited to hear what you think about the rest of them. They're so good.
Yeah, I already put holds on them at the library, but I already also like locked them down so that they won't come in immediately because I need time to like read other books, and I need time to digest the first one because that
Yeah,
was
it's a
some.
lot.
Seivarden is my trash baby. Like they are like a complete
Save
trash
on
baby.
Slash baby.
I love them. I want that in a shirt. Like my trash baby.
So wait, did you finish Babel 15? Or are you still reading it?
I'm still reading it.
Okay, I'm really
That's
curious. To,
also another one that deals with language and linguistics in an interesting way.
Yeah,
I'm
I love
about
it.
2 chapters
Delaney is one of those authors I find like kind of incredibly intimidating. So
yeah, I'm interested to hear what your
He's
thoughts are
very
on
good.
that.
I'm 2 chapters in, so I'm like hesitant to go into like too many thoughts. So far, it's written in a very like it's kind of dense, but the
Mhm.
concepts are really interesting. It's basically it kind of like reminds me of in the Second World War when they used like
The Enigma Code?
Code talkers,
indigenous
the
Americans.
code talkers, the non-Hellite code talkers. And
Yeah,
stuff,
it's basically that like people trying to figure out the language that is used to like sabotage people's projects. So it's kind of like people working to decipher the language that is used. So that's kind of interesting. It reminds me of that, like the whole culture, which obviously never got deciphered.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, now it probably could, like if it happened now, because internet. But back then,
yeah.
I am currently reading Ancestral Night by Elizabeth Bear. I'm actually listening to it on audio while I do a really big puzzle of like sexy fairy ladies in my basement.
That
Which
sounds
is
right. That sounds right.
On brand.
And it has been a joy. Ooh, someone's reading Nova by Delaney. Has anyone read that?
no, but I want to.
Rachel, have you read all of Delaney's stuff yet?
No. No. I have read almost all of his earliest science fiction novels, which are kind of the SF that he's known for. I think he drifted off into writing fantasy after Babel, Babel and Nova and the Jewels one. I can't remember what it is.
Something Grains from Stars, something, because I have that book.
Stars in My Pocket Like Grains of Sand. I haven't read that one yet. I've tried to read it for the newts and didn't get very far into it. So his early stuff, his early science fiction that he's really, really famous for, is the most accessible. I've noticed that when you start getting into the fantasy, like the Nevarion series from the 80s and 90s, it starts to become less accessible, I'd say.
I would say that at least in Babel 17, his cat.
Yeah, I know, right? It's just in my face like, kitten.
Oh, I made us a banner for just this occasion.
Yes. Can you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. His prose is very literary, I would say. Like,
yeah, also cat. I've been trying to move my chair whenever I think of it, so she's in the frame because I think of all of you. You know.
I love it.
I don't have access to type in the chat at the moment, so Shannon asked me a question about Down Below Station. Yes, it's bleak. It's bleak all the way through. It's depressing as hell. Nothing good happens. That is every Cherry novel in a nutshell, basically.
Great.
It's one of the more eventful books, though. I would say that is like one of the absolute pivotal events in that universe, which is why I think it's so interesting to read it.
Yeah, I was going to read maybe Down Below Station for Space Opera September, and then I kind of decided not to because I remember you talking about Cherry and talking about how difficult it was to kind of get through. I'm kind of halfway through my Space Opera September because I haven't started Shards of Honor. I did buy the ebook because I couldn't find it any other way. And then I started The Dragon Pearl by Yoon Ha Lee, which is in the Brick Garden Presents line.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling a tiny bit with it because the main character is she's really impulsive in the way she makes decisions, but because she's a child, she's making decisions in ways that very obviously have problems with them. And, it's just
How old is she?
She's 13.
Yeah,
she's very little.
13-year-olds impulsively making decisions that are bad for them sounds.
I mean, I'm not saying that it's unrealistic because it totally is. Her way of thinking is just oh, there's a problem. Let's, run away from home so I can fix it on my own, which is just
that sounds about right for that age.
It does. It really does. Yeah. Again, it's not a question of, I don't think it's a problem with the book. I think maybe I'm an old grumpy fart and I'm having trouble with this little...
It's like watching it.
It's
watching The Little Mermaid and Ariel's I'm 16. It's you are a baby.
Oh my God. I've been obsessed with watching The Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet because naturally...
But in The Little Mermaid, you're your home situation is not ideal, Whereas in this book,
listen. I'm just saying, your 13-year-old daughter keeps running the fuck away from home to go see a boy. Maybe you freak out a little bit. Maybe you destroy some of her shit. I'm not saying it's okay. Just saying I get where King Triton is coming from. It's a lot.
The older I get, the more I start to sympathize with Triton. And actually nowadays, I think that Triton has the most complete character arc in the Disney's Little Mermaid movie. He grows from completely disregarding and basically shaming and trying to control his daughter who has this urge to change herself and change her body in the way that she wants to be seen and she feels inside that is best for her. And then in the end, he accepts her and helps her to achieve that dream. And also there's a fucking rainbow that he draws over the sky. It's I know that Disney didn't do it on purpose, but I will read into my subtext and take the trans storylines that I can get.
Oh, that makes sense. I'm pushing through Dragon Pearl because so many people have told me they liked it and they love Yoon Ha Lee's writing. I'm reading it before bed and I'm just
Yeah.
I'm reading it before bed and I'm just going no, don't.
Yeah, all right, friends. I got baby stuff. I gotta go. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye. I can understand that though. Just the frustration with, please don't do this. Somebody just told you not to do this. Please don't do this.
I'm just trying not to judge it too harshly, because I remember being a kid and thinking your parents have no idea, even though it wasn't, kind of that bad. But it's just, yeah.
I also can understand that feeling of, reading something like that, and you have been a teenager not too long ago and probably made some really questionable, stupid ass decisions, and then it's sort of that cringe feeling where you are yeah, this is not gonna end well, please don't do this to me. like that sort of thing, maybe.
It hits a
Yeah,
little close to home
The thing
still.
is, like, also, it's a line of children's book. It's a line of middle grade novel representing diverse mythologies. It's like it in the end, if it doesn't particularly resonate with me, it wasn't for me in the first place. Like, I'm not the target audience. If I enjoy it, it's really, really great. But if it doesn't work for me for reasons of being an adult, then that's not a failing on the part of the book.
Yeah.
I was talking about, I guess I maybe didn't make the point quite as clearly, but I did this like mini review of 3 different graphic novels, video recently, and I was talking about The Prince and the Dressmaker, which I was like, it was beautiful, but I would have like, I'm intrigued by what this story would be like if it was, like a historical novel with a lot of interiority, and I was getting a lot of like character point of view, and I was like, it's not what the book is, and it's not what the book wants to be. But
I was actually really interested in that video because you are an actual French person and the book is set in Paris. So I feel like, well, but I feel like you would have had like an interesting lens to view it through if it had been a real like historical fiction like thing instead of just like actual. It's kind of like historical fantasy in a sense.
Sure. But that's why I don't think the setting is particularly, I think the setting in that book is it's not the most integral part of the story. And like the architecture looks correct, like a lot of the things you look at it and you're like, yes, that looks like the type of building that we have in French cities. That looks quite different from, say, London. But yeah, I'm also not like, all the stuff I know about French history is like remembering vaguely things from school and then being obsessed with Les Mis. Like, I actually studied 19th and 20th century British history. So, yeah, but yeah, it was very pretty. So, and I'm reading Children's Time, and I'm enjoying the crazy spiders. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. Rachel, did you say what you're reading?
Not yet, but I'll show you quickly. I am trying to finish The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, I butchered that. This is like literary speculative fiction, and it's starting to lose my interest. I can't figure out what the point is supposed to be. And maybe it's just because it's Japanese literary fiction. I feel like I need somebody else to read it and tell me if this is very Japanese. And then I am reading Letters to Tiptree. I'm buddy reading this with Andrea, who I believe is in the chat now. Yeah. It's very interesting, but I'm halfway through the letters portion of this, and it's like lots of people writing fan mail.
I'm really interested. So I didn't realize that Tiptree had like 1, killed herself, and 2, that her partner was involved with that. Like, I didn't know that part of Tiptree's history at all.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I've only recently become aware of it, and I was like, shit.
I've known for quite a while. Years ago when I read her best of collection, Her Smoke Rose Up Forever, I read a ton about her, and I learned about it then. But yeah, it's kind of what Tiptree is known for, is writing amazing SF. Everyone thought she was male, and this like big blow up in the field when it was revealed she was a woman. And that's like one of the central events that most of the letters in this collection are all about, like how people felt in that moment in 1978, I think, when she was revealed to be a woman. And apparently a lot of people were incredibly disappointed she was a woman because they thought that she was a truly feminist man who got it.
Gotcha.
Huh.
Oh, well, I can understand that, like
I
It's
understand
it's
why
a-
I felt that way. Yeah, and to be living through it, like right now, like now, decades later, it doesn't really feel like that anymore. But at the time, yeah. And then the other thing that I was surprised more people haven't touched on it, but it's her death, very sudden, very shocking, and somewhat controversial circumstances, depending on what you know about it. So
Yeah.
Did you see the Twitter thread earlier? Like, I think it was like just like last month or like a little after Worldcon, there was a Twitter thread by the biographer who did like a
Yes.
biography of Tiptree, and they were addressing how they handled her death in the biography.
yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
read the biography. I'm going to be reading that probably in November with Andrea.
Yeah.
And what the biographer said is that she now regrets not putting in more of the information she gathered about her death. She found it, basically the biographer found it very difficult to write about that in general, but since she left information out, all of a sudden people think there's more to interpret, and she's like, maybe I have some evidence I didn't include in the book that makes it clear that this was not what some people think it was.
But also, the biographer said very clearly, like, all the evidence that she has is from, like, talking to friends of the Sheldons who had, heard and whatever. I mean, the truth is, like, it's such a long time ago, we can't really know. I mean, that's what the motherboard was saying, the body that runs the Tiptree Award. And, we don't know. And because we don't know, we have to kind of... I mean, I think they've made the right decision in deciding in the end to change the name of the award, because
have they officially decided they're going to?
They're considering
they
it.
haven't said what they're renaming it to, but they have said that they're going to be renaming it. There's been an update to the original post. They've said within a month they're going to come back to it and talk about it more.
I'll have to go read that, because the last time I saw something, they said they were going to discuss it more. Not that they were going to, but that they would be discussing it more.
Yeah, so basically, they've said, we'll be discussing it. Please send us your feedback. They've clearly received a ton of feedback, and they said, hey, we heard you. We heard that this is, painful and that it's really difficult to talk about for disabled people. And they are going to change it. They just haven't said, I'm sure it takes a while to figure out to what, right? Because the Astounding Award, they changed the name, but they had been thinking about it. And they had been, thinking about it before.
And also the Astounding Award name change makes sense because
hey
the
guys,
Astounding
I need
magazine.
to head out.
Okay.
Anyway, it was good talking with you, and I will see you all next month.
See you next time.
Bye, Daddy.
Have fun.
But maybe it's just like because Tiptree is like, I know that it's like the name is like intrinsically linked with Sheldon, of course it is, but at the same time, since it's
because of her.
But at the same time, since it's a pen name, I necessarily don't find it as
but I think it's
problematic
interesting.
as Campbell.
They were talking about that on Galactic Suburbia, right? And they were saying basically the John W. Campbell Award being renamed to Astounding is exactly as if we had a Sheldon Award and renamed it to Tiptree. Like, it does the same thing,
That's
Because it's saying we're taking the person away from the person and we're putting it on the work. But I think, I don't know, because I have never read Tiptree, and so I don't really want to talk on it more than like, hey, here are the actual news that I've collected because I do a news show. But what I would say is on Galactic Suburbia, what was really interesting is that the folks talking about it include Alex.
Who's the
Alex,
editor
who does exactly. And Alex had some really interesting things to say about it, particularly about like Sheldon identifying with Tiptree and Sheldon's gender and stuff that like I don't really know anything about it, but yeah, I'll
have to go listen because I was kind of curious what the editors of this collection might have to say about the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I mean, look,
I'm one of those people like I am all in favor of the Campbell Award being renamed to the Astounding. I find it a very convincing argument that Campbell was a fascist, and that was extremely clear in his public opinions and actions as a person, but also as an editor and everything. Like, he really pushed his political views. The Tiptree situation, I don't really want it to be renamed. I don't find it to be.
I feel like the thing with the Tiptree thing, because I think the way I could be completely wrong here, but the way I heard it is like people get really upset and contentious about the way she died and what went on with that there.
I think the basic argument is that it's analogous to caregiver homicide when disabled or ill people are killed by their caretakers.
Well, the idea is that we don't actually know whether it
Right,
was
we
that
don't
or
know. And it's
we don't know that. And
Right.
it's also like it's a personal family matter that is completely removed from her
Right.
work.
Right, but it's also
Tiptree-
a
the
matter
Tiptree
of
Award is
disabled people
named
being murdered by
for
their
her
caregivers on a
painting.
very regular basis. Like, this is just a thing that happens a lot to disabled people. Like, look, I would recommend Galactic Suburbia because they talk a lot about like the kind of knee-jerk reactions that we have as people who are very attached to a specific kind of work. But I also like, if there was an award that was named after a man who had like maybe murdered his wife, maybe not, and like maybe he's a wife murderer, but maybe not, do we rename it or not? I would say, for me, well, I would feel less welcome in this community if we decided that, awarding an award to a person who's, having the name of that person who is not there anymore, who is not in this community anymore because they've passed, having that upheld, like, more importantly than people who are here and in this community and afraid of talking about it. And like, that's an issue that's ongoing in the community. I just don't really think it's, like, I don't know. I don't really feel like it's on that I can have an opinion on it. Like, if disabled people are saying like, this is a thing that is, an ongoing concern for us. And it's something that is like, like, I've seen people in closed groups say, I don't want to talk about this on Twitter because it's scary, the thing that people say. And I'm just like, yeah, well, I feel like there's levels of importance, right? Like, I would really prefer that Alice Sheldon, I would really prefer to risk having Alice Sheldon be somebody who had a suicide pact with her husband and did it, and it wasn't murder, and we still renamed your award rather than the other way around.
I can't speak to what the disabled community is saying about it. I'm not a member of that community, but one of the things that I'm kind of thinking about while I'm reading this Letters to Tiptree Award or collection is that, like, the award is literally based on her body of work as Tiptree. Like, it's not based on Alice Sheldon as a person. It's based on the stuff she wrote. And it feels kind of like taking that name away is one step in erasing a woman's legacy in the SFF field, in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, there are tons of people who have no idea who James Tiptree is or what any of her stuff is. They've only heard about it because of the award. And
I only heard about it because of the award. I haven't, like, I think when I first started getting involved in the like WorldCon thing and like in the community like more actively, that's when I learned about Tiptree, and then I still haven't read anything by Tiptree. And then after that I learned that Tiptree was a pseudonym for Alice Sheldon. So like it's always like the Tiptree name has always come like first in a sense, like for me at least. Like I think that's a lot of people's introduction to that person or that body of work.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a very like, it's that issue is a whole can of worms, because I can understand the biographer's feeling when she wrote the thread on Twitter, but also like when you have like grieving family and family members and friends, I mean, I'm sure they know the person and the people in question better than a lot of other people, but it's also still like second or third or fifth hand information. And usually we also tend to kind of like look at deceased people with rose tinted glasses. So it's
I mean, we can't know. We just can't. It's really
Yeah.
hard not to know, right? It's
I
really
think-
hard to not know.
That's why I'm so conflicted about this, is that we have no hard evidence one way or the other, and it feels like pretty immediate knee-jerk reaction to rename the award that might
think-
fundamentally change the meaning of the award in some way. But bottom line, as some people are kind of mentioning in the chat, naming
Yeah.
awards after people
Mm-mm.
just creates too many problematic
Don't
things.
do it.
Yeah, I was-
Don't do it.
yeah, I mean
I was gonna
if,
say,
if
I'm
we
so
are,
glad about.
Yeah,
I'm so
if
glad
you
about the
find
Lodestar being named the
something
Lodestar instead of
anybody's
some other name.
background that makes them objectionable if you look hard enough. So just don't.
I mean, I swear you can probably like look at any person at any given time and they will have said or done something that is not good. But at the
Well,
same
yeah,
time,
because
some people probably do it more than others.
What
But
are we
the
gonna
thing is,
not
you
think of?
know, we have this idea of like people. We have this idea of like a good person or a bad person, right? And it's just
It's
blunt.
not that
Like that's
black
not
and
how
white.
people are, you know. Like people say, people can say things that are bad without being a bad person, and everybody does. And so
Yeah.
that's why the naming the award after a person is not. And also, like, the astounding award for best new writer just sounds a
So
lot
much
better.
easier to
Right, exactly.
say. My
Right.
my second language English speaking ass is like so happy about that.
And like Lodestar, for instance, is a lovely idea. Like this idea of a guiding star of a northern star, like this idea
Yeah.
of like, yeah, and it's lovely. And then it's not something that we're gonna have to change in like 10 years because the author that it was named after doesn't write YA anymore, or like, you know, I mean,
I understand that like you want to respect history and you want to respect like great achievements in history, but at the same time, I sometimes like, for example, the knee-jerk reaction to the change of the Campbell Award, even from people who actually are not part of the community, and Reddit was all like the SJWs are ruining the literary world again and whatever. Anyway, like sometimes people tend to look at history with very like, as I said before, rose-tinted glasses. Like you cherry pick the best parts, and then you're like, well, this was how it was back then, and completely ignore the pushback that was there even back then to those issues. Like for example, when people say that, well, John Campbell was a pretty bad dude, it's not like we just came up with that idea. It was there, like his peers were that way. Like his peers were like constantly calling him out on his bullshit. So it's not like it's a new idea.
Yeah, that's the thing. Another difference between the Campbell situation and the Tiptree is that the Campbell thing, people had actually been talking about that repeatedly for years. It was not a new thing. It just exploded with this recent iteration. The Tiptree thing, this is the first time anybody's ever brought it up.
no, this is the first time any of us have heard about it. Like literally,
Yeah. From what I heard, it's been like a few, like even back when the John Campbell Award thing first started making waves, like people started to ask for a name change. People started to
It's been
talk
going on
about,
for a long
hey,
time.
what about Tiptree then? So it's been a thing, I guess. But as I said, I've only recently started like I mean, the disabled community has started.
I think it's the kind of thing that if you were like somebody who knew about like the issue of disabled people, and you know, sorry, just the one issue of disabled, if you were somebody who were keyed into specific issues to do with the disabled community and the specific treatments from caregivers, I don't know. I've definitely heard people say, we've been talking about this for ages and we're now only talking about it like in a big way because there's been this stuff with the Campbell. So I don't know.
Right.
I haven't heard about it, but again, hadn't read Tiptree. It's not really, yeah.
I mean, I have read Tiptree. Tiptree's stuff is fantastic.
No, I mean,
It was an amazing writer. She has such an amazing legacy and influence, and I just, and yet I do think it's a terrible idea to name awards after people.
Yeah.
I mean, we could just call it the Smash the Patriarchy Award.
I'm here for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I mean, they're probably not going to go with that, but
Probably not.
The thing about the award is that it's not actually Smash the Patriarchy. It's doing interesting things with gender and
Gender.
yeah.
So, smash the gender binary, perhaps.
The
The
Spectrum
Smash Award.
They should
It's
name
the
it Spectrum.
The Spectrum Award would actually be pretty.
Spectrum has actually already been taken. I believe it is an SFF Literary Award.
oh, I didn't know that.
Not SFF Artistic Award, excuse me.
Oh, for visual arts?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, well, that makes sense because of colors.
Yeah.
yeah.
I see.
But if it were, I would say yeah.
I mean, look, we can keep thinking.
Has anybody? Okay, total tangent, not related to what we've been talking about. Did anyone see Ad Astra?
Nope.
Okay.
I saw the article saying that it was like the
I saw it
Beatles
yesterday.
fiction, but I didn't see the actual movie. Tell me about it.
I
So
saw it yesterday. Yes.
it's the premise of the story is that like an astronaut has to go into deep space to go find essentially what happened to his father's ship because it's causing huge energy flares that's like ruining like the world basically.
Ruining the galaxy.
The galaxy,
or the
yeah.
Milky Way.
Power surges that's basically making it functionally impossible to live. Hand wavy.
Yeah, sure.
Is my that does not make sense face.
Right. Hand wave.
Okay, go on.
And it was really interesting how it tried to explore the isolation aspect of going into deep space, and also like the idea of being somebody who is aging as they enter into this isolation and have had to live with it, because like in theory, if his father is alive, right, and his father's ship and mission has been doing this, his father's basically been alone for like 30 years. And what does that do to you? It was interesting. It was very interesting. Don't go into it expecting a lot of like fantastic science, but
I mean,
it is an interesting character study.
that's an interesting idea. It's also entirely not a new.
Oh no, not new at all. It's not new at all.
I have thoughts.
that.
I have thoughts about Ad Astra. I went to see it with my partner yesterday.
Yeah.
And we left the movie theater with completely opposing opinions on the movie because my partner really liked it and he liked the whole exploration of isolation, and that's like he said that as someone who has maybe been brought up to take care of themselves and sort of like hide how they're really feeling and stuff, he could relate to that suppression of emotion and stuff. And me, on the other hand, I was there like this movie has more unresolved daddy issues than a Tim Burton film, and it was difficult for me to watch it because of that. I was like sighing in the movie theater, like going
Like Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
worse.
You're like, maybe the
I
man
would rewatch Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Like I probably could not be able to rewatch Ad Astra. It is very ponderous.
It is very ponderous.
slow. It is like And also, if you are someone like, if you are wanting to see it, if you are prone to motion sickness,
Yeah, don't.
there is so much shaky cam
Well,
and
and they
so
do
much like blurry effects that
they
it
do a
will
lot
drive
of
you nuts.
they do a lot of interesting like visual shots to kind of
Yeah, I mean,
to play up the idea that he's alone and he's just in his own head,
Yeah.
and like it's
visually
visually
it's very
interesting.
interesting. I especially like the very because it's not like I hated the whole thing. There were things I like. The
Right.
small world building details, like when they go on a commercial moon flight and how that whole
Yes.
thing was shot. That was like really interesting to think like how in the near future the world has kind of changed.
And
and
how
how that-
mundane that actually would become over time.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
how the things that we basically like when we think of like right now a colony in the moon, oh my god, that's so exciting and that's like so amazing. But then in that future of the movie, the colony in the moon is basically just another aspect of life on Earth, and it's like not exciting. When you see the place, it's just like, oh, okay, it's just we've reached another tentacle into space and we've just brought all our Earth shit with us, and it's nothing new and exciting. And so that was interesting. And I also like the very establishing shot of the movie where he's doing the psychological evaluation, the very
Yeah.
first shot. And he's talking basically about how he feels, like he's trying to present himself as a very calm person. And basically the exact opposite of what he's saying is happening on the screen as he's reliving what actually happened. And that was interesting to me. I don't like the ending. Bree knows what happens in the end.
Yeah.
And the ending, I think, cheapens the whole thing. Like I
have issues with the ending, mostly in a number of areas that I don't know. I have issues with the reaction to his ending. But that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah. It was
That being
interesting.
said, Tommy Lee Jones, I think, does a fantastic job of acting as like a kind of paranoid, scared out of his mind old dude.
I mean, basically that's the role he's been playing for the past like 20 years. So I'm sure he's gotten a lot of practice out of that. Sometimes
Is he playing himself?
No.
Yeah, like maybe not. Who knows? I don't know. But that's the role he's been playing for 20 years.
Oh my God.
Any other media that anyone else has been watching or seeing or doing?
Well, I just want to point out, if anyone in the UK might be interested, there's a new season of the Great Model Railway Challenge.
What?
Look,
what is the Great Modern?
You know how Great British Bake Off is like, here's a competition about people doing a thing that they're really good at, and everybody's like being kind about it.
Yeah.
So same, but for building model train sets.
Oh,
And it's so cute.
Oh my God, that's my dad in a TV
Is
show.
this on Netflix?
Yeah. I don't know if it's on Netflix because it's on Channel 5 in the UK, but it's it's just started again, and they had in the first episode they made them do they have 3 days to build a little model railway thing, and in the first episode they made them build a model rail set that on the theme of basically the earth is angry at you, it's all volcanoes and landslides and stuff. So they're doing trains, but they're also doing, now this train is being derailed because of an earthquake. Here's how we've animated it with a servo motor.
That's adorable.
I generally love whenever there's reality shows are hit and miss for me, but I love reality shows where people make things with their hands.
Have you seen Blown Away, which is the glass blowing documentary on Netflix, and that's on Netflix UK and US?
Which one?
There's a glass blowing documentary on Netflix called Blown Away, and it's amazing. It's not a documentary, it's one of those TV shows where you have like 12 people blowing glass and then they eliminate one person each week or whatever. I don't think it's
Oh, I think
that.
we
I
have
have-
that in Finland as well.
I have fallen down the YouTube hole of just watching people blow glass more than once. Like it's
Listen,
just
Blown Away, I would highly, highly recommend.
There's
Glass.
one thing I want to recommend, by the way.
yeah.
Just saying. Any one of you go to Webtoon, like know what Webtoon is?
Mm.
Webtoons.com is basically a webcomic website
Oh.
where various different artists like have their like serials and like they update every week and stuff. And I've gone down the Webtoon rabbit hole of Lore Olympus, which is a Hades and Persephone sort of science fiction-y retelling.
Fun fact, I'm a huge sucker for Hades and Persephone, even though I know it's like
It's amazing.
did,
So good.
did anybody watch the new the Dark Crystal new TV show?
I've seen the first episode of
If
it.
you, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful, but
I'm
I'm not watch it by myself because I tried watching it with my friend and partner, and they were both like, "Yawn," and I'm like, "You don't understand me."
I know I'm a huge Henson fan, and I love it. So if you like Henson,
I mean, I
I
love the
suggest it.
original Dark Crystal movie. Like, it's one of like I know it's not perfect, but it has Fizzgig in it.
did you know?
It is the best.
Did you know it was supposed to be without any dialogue?
No, actually,
It was originally filmed without dialogue, and they sent it through like film previews, and everyone was confused, and they were like, "Jim, you have to add actual words." And so he went back, and like all of the stuff was done like, and you can tell when you watch, you're like, "Oh my god!" Now that you told me, I see
that explains the lag.
yeah,
Hey, Bree,
yeah.
did you end up watching that documentary that I recommended to you in Dublin
Which
about
one?
Hanson's life?
No, I
So
didn't.
there's
But I
this
What
should.
documentary about Henson's life?
There's this YouTube channel called Defunct
Defunct.
Land who
Yeah.
do reviews, who talk about theme parks. Sorry, that took me a second. So they talk about theme parks, and in particular, they talk about attractions and theme parks that have that have shut down.
Yeah, and
And
they have one that's just about Jim Henson. I'm looking it up, and I'm just gonna put it on.
A
So that
whole
I have it-
series.
I
Yeah.
have the tab open now, so that I will not forget.
Yeah, it's called.
Link it to me.
Yeah, just a second. Right, I'm doing it. Okay,
I
that
would
YouTube
feel-
playlist is that's in the chat. I don't know if it's actually going through because. Okay. I'm gonna put it in the private chat of
Yeah,
of
sure.
StreamYard, which you have. But I've put some links in the actual YouTube chat, but I don't know if they've gotten through because they're not showing up in.
It's usually like blocked links automatically because of spam.
I know
Wow.
that, but it didn't tell me it was doing it, so that's why I was confused.
Well, YouTube is not always very good about.
Okay, I'm super excited to watch all of this.
Did you hear about the whole verification thing and how
Yeah.
they had to take it back? Because
I didn't know
people,
they took it back, but I
yeah, they did the whole like removing verifications and got such a huge backlash from everybody that they had to rescind the decision. And I'm like, classic YouTube. Never change, but please change.
That's funny. I'm gonna see if this goes through here. It might because okay. I'm dropping in the chat our Ravelry group for anybody who wants to hang out with us on Ravelry as well.
I'm gonna see if I can try and like fool the thing by dropping links with little holes in them. So, I'm not sure if that's showing up for anybody else, but if yes, copy and remove the spaces. I don't know.
Otherwise, I'll update the description to include it later.
Yes. Okay. Let's see. No, it was really annoying because they explained why they were taking away the verification, which made no bloody sense. And then after I spent like an hour of work time appealing the decision to remove the verification from Menu True Nerd, they went on Twitter and said, "Now you're good."
Rachel, there's a question for you in the chat about some tools that you use to make a scarf.
Ooh. Oh, shoot. It's not broomstick lace. It is. Let me look it up. It's a loom. And I'm trying to remember the name of the loom. It's a hairpin lace loom.
Mm.
And I'm not sure what kinds they come in, but you can usually find the one that it's you can resize it. You want one that has multiple holes, so you can move the rods out at different widths.
Mm-hmm.
And tip, if you can, if it's not like packaged in plastic, check to see if the rods stick or not. If they're too loose, it will drive you crazy. And if they stick too much, you might break the plastic trying to take it apart.
Well, I can see that comment now, Claire, by the way. Not the one with the link, but the...
Well, I've put the link in the private chat, so if you want to put that in the description at some point, that works. Yeah, okay. Cool. Anything that people are looking forward to in the next month or so? Spooky season, anybody?
RuPaul's Drag Race UK.
Well, that too.
Sort of, kind of. I'm like trembling in anticipation and anxiety. Like
the new T. Kingfisher horror book.
I am thinking about pre-ordering that, and I want to know how many people want to do like a group read of it, like
I'm definitely
read group, because I want to read it, but I can't read it without support from other people. So
I will
it's
for
scary.
sure read it for you.
It's a horror novel. It's a straight up horror novel.
I mean, I'm sure if you ask Maya, she will be like,
probably.
Yeah, because Maya's the one that told me about that book in the first place.
Yeah.
I was
like T. Kingfisher is one of her favorites. So
like I will only pre-order it if I know in advance that somebody will read it with me. So
I will for sure watch it or read it with you.
Cool.
I just put in my pre-order like Friday, I think, for it.
I will do that now, in fact, while I'm thinking about it.
Nice live buying of books.
Yes!
I got my copy of Gideon the Ninth the other day.
Ooh.
And
Yes.
it's so pretty.
Did you get the
Did you get
black
it with the sprayed edges?
Yeah, me too.
It's so cool. I'm reading it next month.
I totally didn't remember putting in a pre-order for it, and then I got a notice that it was arriving in the mail, and it was just like, sweet. I also, I just got The Future of Another Timeline in the mail yesterday from Orbit, and I was just like, what? And then I had to work, obviously.
And Annalie Nuit.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, which is the time travel book where like there's a group of like time traveling terrorists who want to like go back in time and like ruin women's rights. So
speaking of time wars and time travel,
Oh, yeah.
I ordered the This Is How You Lose the Time War. At the same time, I ordered my own physical copy of A Memory Called Empire. which I read from the library, and now I bought my own copy because I needed it.
Yay.
Okay, I need to get one more book so I can get free shipping.
This is the best problem to have, I guess.
You have a wish list?
I've got to look at my list to see what else.
Maybe give us an option and we can vote. It's just like make you buy things. Put in
We are-
myself.
we are good.
Did you get a copy of the question mark? The Muriel Yeager one?
Ooh, I can't find the physical book. I can only find the ebook of that. It's really weird. I tried looking for it on Book Depository too, and it would not come up for me.
I'm looking at my TBR shelf right now.
I really want to get Interference by Sue Burke. That's the follow-up to Semiosis, but it doesn't come out until the end of October, so I don't know if that would delay the shipping of the Twisted ones.
I don't think so.
I mean, usually it doesn't, but sometimes,
What are you ordering on? Is this Amazon?
yeah.
I don't
They
think it would.
usually do things really quickly, even if you don't pay for shipping.
Um,
Oh, I should get that one.
Interference is up on NetGalley right now, by the way.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Is anyone doing any kind of like spooky project or spooky readathons for October?
I have an announcement video coming up on the 4th of October. It's not a reading challenge. It's tentatively, I call it the cultural exchange in favor of the spooky season. And
Nice.
but I have made a bingo card, and it's basically just, you can read whatever you want, but there's like things. I
That's
love,
so cool.
there's gonna be an announcement.
I'm really looking forward to that. Bree,
I love it.
I thought you were going to say something as well at the same time.
Oh no, I'm slowly decorating. So Soren now has his Halloween bow tie on.
Nice.
And I've been slowly planning. I'm trying to decide. My ongoing project for the last couple of years has been trying to figure out how to do Baba Yaga house legs for my house.
Love you.
Because I can't figure out like how to do it in a way that I could store it between the years. So I might put up a picture, and if anybody has ideas about how to make
Wait,
Baba
so-
Yaga chicken legs for my house.
So you want to do chicken legs for like say the side of your house or like that stick out or
That stick out. I have my house is up on a hill. So I was
Okay.
thinking they could go down the hill, down the hill.
you could do chicken wire and papier mache and it wouldn't be too heavy.
No, it wouldn't be heavy. The problem is
if
I
you
would never be able to store it.
If you have like a 3D printer at
Mhm.
your like library or something, I think you said you did.
Yeah.
You could make like one of those, like basically that the leg is collapsible, like it has like
Mhm.
you do with Legos, basically, like you can stack them up and then it would like fit in a box or something.
I was thinking of those like the cat tunnel things that I could just squish down and then save it between the years. I have to think about it. It's been an ongoing project. I also am halfway through a project where
Does the house
I
have
make
to
a head that comes out of the TV. I have an old CRT television, and it has like a mannequin head that comes out to scare small children.
Nice.
Bree, does the house have to stand? Or,
No.
or do the like legs have to like just come out of the sides? Like
Just down the side so it looks like they have chicken legs.
just get a rubber chicken and cut the legs out and stick them
But
under the
it's
house.
not gonna be the right kind of
Size.
scale.
Does the scale matter? It's a magical Baba Yaga house.
Well, but she
Like,
wants people to see it.
Obviously, it needs huge like legs
It's
to be able to carry the weight of the house.
but she wants people to see it from the street when they're doing Halloween, like trick-or-treating, right?
Yeah.
Oh, do they sell blow-up chicken legs?
Oh, you know what? I mean, I don't think they do, but they really should.
They really, really should.
But I
I will-
think the idea of like the collapsible like cat tunnels is a really good idea.
I think
Yeah,
that was
okay.
really
I had
good.
the really wrong idea. Like I was picturing a small Baba Yaga house on a table.
No,
And
no,
I
no.
was like,
She means her actual house where she
you
lives.
know what?
The ongoing joke is that my house is a witch house because I have like a huge herb garden and I have chickens in the backyard and
Witch.
yeah, and the inside of my house looks like Tim Burton and Jim Henson kind of vomited a little on the inside. So, you know, we go big or go home for Halloween.
I'm trying to think. Like I'm thinking about like that plastic like that fencing material that you can like
Yeah. Like plastic
And then-
chicken wire.
yeah, basically you could use that and like pull it taut over a length and secure it somehow and then like cover it with like a tarp, like an orange tarp or something.
Someone says
I don't know how any of this works.
But it's
Slinky
like
legs sounds fun.
I'm thinking about it.
good idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, the problem is how to store it, right? Because if you don't
Right.
want to take, because if you are okay with having it take a lot of space, then chicken wire is the way to make it look nice.
Yeah.
Do you have a huge crawl space under your house?
I have a basement instead of a crawl space, so it's like an entire living floor. But we use it for our game room.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like the
But
games
it
and
probably-
also where I store all the books. It would have to go in
probably
my,
wouldn't be
my
too
garage.
nice to have like huge chicken legs in the game room for like
It's
a
the
year.
chicken leg room now, Brie.
My mother would be so confused, which in fairness would be on par with every time she comes to my house, but like in a more than usual way.
Okay, so get like a million cat tunnels, stick them together, spray them with the appropriate color, and just
Okay, my
And
partner's
they're
gonna think I'm
fuckable.
crazy when like 7,000 cat tunnels show up, but I'm into it.
I mean, I'm sure you could find them on eBay or Amazon for like $3 a piece.
Probably.
Or
Maybe
like,
it's the one-time wish.com would come in handy.
Yeah.
yeah.
KJ says just put 2 ruby red shoes on the house. Just like 2 giant shoes like sticking out the house. That's a really good idea.
That is.
Or those Dutch shoes, the clogs.
She means
You could paint them.
Wizard of Oz shoes. Yeah, but like giant one. Yeah, no, that's really funny.
That was really funny.
So
I knew you guys would have my back. You and everyone in the chat.
you
would
know,
have
I'm,
my ideas.
I'm always very interested in witchy related projects.
Mhm.
Years. I'm really excited. You know what I'm gonna say, Brie, because I've been like talking about it. But so I've been looking for years and years for an idea that is good enough to do on my to do a project on my channel called the Claire Witch Project, and I have been advised that I should just do some fucking videos. And
Yes.
it doesn't matter if it's like the best thing in the world. So I'm going to do some videos. I have done a TBR for October that's only books with either witch or magic in the title. I have like 3 nonfiction books about witches. I do have one about lady serial killers, which is not about witches at all. But now it's in my house, so I'm going to read it anyway.
Oh, Claire, are we gonna see like found footage reading vlogs?
That sounds hard. I don't have time
Like,
to make
Sean,
things
you
easier.
have to document your reading like in
I
like
know.
snippets.
Your ADD is giving my ADD ideas. I need to calm down. I spent a long time trying to be okay with it being just like video mini.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, but I want to see it.
I'm so excited to see your TBR for that.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
so
basically,
excited.
it's like a bunch of like books about witches, and then a bunch of like nonfiction about how troublesome women have been called witches throughout history.
I love it.
Really, the whole thing. But Raya,
I can't wait to see.
it.
What? Did I do something?
No, it's a bloody good idea, and now I don't have the time or skills to do it. Like I would have to learn.
It's found footage. What skill does it need?
You have to still film it.
Yeah, you
but
need to
you know,
make it look like it's in a horror movie.
Oh, I like Shannon's idea. Make a few second intro for them that looks like found footage.
yeah. Like,
Have you seen my zombie video?
I don't think I've seen it.
even though
My
it
God,
freaked me
we
out,
go on zombie
I
video.
watched it for you.
Brie, a couple of years ago for my Halloween special, I did a video
Yeah.
that's like recommending zombie media and books, and I did it all in zombie makeup. And it starts with like 2
How did
seconds.
I miss this?
It gave me
How did I
me
miss this?
anxiety for like 3 days straight, but I watched it
Oh
for
my
you.
God, I'm so sorry.
And that is my dedication to my friends. Just saying. Just saying. So that you will never question it.
I spent several hours putting zombie makeup on myself, and then I went into John. I knocked on John's door where he was working, and I was like, "Hello," and he was like, "No, get away!" I have a picture of the cat looking like I have a picture of me going like this at the cat, and the cat being like, "Fuck off."
Well, cats are like it's just you. It's
Yeah,
like,
cats
you're
are
not
like, I
kidding
can
me.
smell that it's makeup.
We're almost to the end of our 2 hours. Are we going to talk about Dublin stuff at all?
Oh,
Oh yeah. Well, Dublin happened. There was a Dublin.
I'm using my Dublin yarn.
Oh,
I
that
can't-
is, yeah.
I'm counting pennies for New Zealand,
Ditto.
and I mean, I bought a skirt fabric for the specific purpose of making a skirt for New Zealand.
Nice.
So I guess I need to actually make that a thing that happens next year. But,
Yeah.
you know.
So KJ is asking if the BookTube panel from Dublin was filmed. I managed, so Paul did me a favor and used my camera to film the first like 20 minutes, 30 minutes of the panel, which was a 50-minute panel. So you won't get any of the Q&A, I think, but I will put that together and try to make sure I put it up this next week.
Yeah, most of the Worldcon panels are not filmed usually, I think.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, but
Well, I mean, it's interesting. We had a conversation about that on Twitter after Dublin, and a few people were saying, like, someone did a tweet that was like, hey, it's not that hard. Like, you should just film everything so that I don't have to use a time machine to,
Have
like,
you ever made videos before?
and it's like, it's a lot more complicated than just that.
Okay.
Obviously, because
You
Worldcon
could technically you could live stream possibly, but the thing is you need server space. You need things. You need people who actually have the technical skills to,
you need your panelists to be okay with it, which is also
yes, that's like you need consent from people. You either have to make it a part of the like code of conduct or something. Or
yeah, but you can't force people. You can't say you have to. You know.
yeah. And also it's like this every single convention ever made. You're just not gonna see everything. That's just like
It's interesting because people were taking that very question in a lot of different ways. People were saying, as an accessibility thing, it's really expensive to go to Worldcon. They should put some of it online. Some people were saying, like, well, if you film some of it online and charge people to watch it, you'd make money. Some people were saying, you can't have any of it because people wouldn't want to be panelists anymore. And some people were saying, well, you have to video everything. And some people were saying you could just release certain panels of the podcast. And my whole thing was like, don't expect Worldcon to do any of this because they don't have time.
There's one thing. Okay, so DEF CON, which is like DEF CON usually has this thing where they film most of the programming on the premises, and then some of it they put on their YouTube channel. But that's like what they actually sell DVDs of the videos of the like panels that they film, so that you can like buy the thing afterwards or like during the like after the convention on like some fee or something, if you want the things. But I don't know if that's like very like plausible. Like
But the
it's
thing
not
is, like,
tech convention. Like
it's
World
something
Congress
that's
Tech
just
Convention.
not part of. It's something that's not part of Worldcon's like culture, and so that's the thing that's going to be the biggest difficulty to change, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not really a matter of the technical difficulties,
Ability,
right?
yeah.
Like, it is going. If someone wanted to do either audio or videos or streams, like, obviously it would be hugely technically challenging, but people know how to do that. It would just be a question of finding people, either volunteers or paid, and finding the technology and the materials, right?
Well, the
But-
technology, I think, would be the bigger issue because
No,
you
I mean-
actually, that's something that costs. You know, volunteers generally don't cost. Like that's,
Yeah, but
that's
volunteers don't cost anything, but if you can't, but like you
Yeah.
have to find them, right? You have to
Yeah.
find them. My whole thing about this, the whole like thread that I did that blew up a little bit, was that like if you wanted to have that done, it should be like a separate organization that does it, that's focused on that, because Worldcon on their own, they're not going to do it. They don't have time. And, you know, also like Worldcon is really, really decentralized year on year, and it's a huge problem for various things, right? Like Worldcon and the WSFS, which is the organization running, well, not running, but, you know, just the membership of Worldcon, like that's all different year on year. And some people say, some people don't. And it's like, what you need is to have a group of people that do, you know, if you wanted it done, you'd need to have a group that does it year on year.
Mhm.
And I was approaching it more in terms of like a fandom history and fandom preservation project, and a lot of people weren't approaching it that way. And I was having conversation with people who were just like doing it and like approaching it from completely different angles, which was really interesting.
Paul is
I
actually
do think that
something really
fandom-
interesting in the chat.
Mm.
Paul said that I'd hate to see panelists' comments be taken out of context while they hold back their answers because there would be a recording. I feel like for some people that would definitely be an issue. Like if there was a recording.
I mean, I think a lot of people are not like us. And, you know, I think it's really easy for me, for instance, to be quite flip about it and forget that some people don't just record themselves all the time, you know, because I'm just like, what do you mean? I mean, surely if they'll say it in front of a room full of people, they'd be ready to blah, 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 blah. So I'm kind of like stepping back a little bit from, you know, because I feel like the way that I approach it in the first place, I think there are things that I assumed as read that weren't. And because that thread blew up a little bit, because File 770 put it up on their website and pulled like the worst of the tweets in terms of like not having context properly around it. So therefore I got people being dicks at me in my comments about it. But yeah, I mean, like, and Shannon is right, like the internet in general is not a safe place, and it's not safe for everyone in the same like ratios and stuff.
Yeah.
But it also does mean that, you know, it's just really, really, really expensive to go to cons, and that is not a thing about Worldcon, that's a thing about cons in general.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is. I have two questions about this whole thing.
Yeah.
One, Worldcon in Helsinki did live stream a number of panels.
Yeah, they have their own
And
YouTube channel.
I want to know
which is still up.
how did they do that and why did they do it? I never heard anybody talk about it. I love watching those things. But my second question relates to conventions. Worldcon is a paid convention. It's not free. You pay to access what's at the convention. If they're going to record things and they rely on funds to run the convention from memberships, why should they ever release recordings of stuff publicly, or would that only be for members?
I think the idea I've heard
something.
that's most common, is that you would only have access to, and this could be wrong because maybe there are just other conversations going on that I haven't heard, is that you would be able to, if you had a supporting membership, then access the live stream.
That makes sense to me.
So Helsinki did it as a part of the con itself. So the con organization decided to do it. I think they must have had a bunch of like.
I can't tell if it's a Worldcon thing, but I can tell that as a Finnish convention thing, it is very common in some aspects in the Finnish con scene to have live streams or stuff up because, like, for example, Worldcon got a lot of like grants from the Finnish government when Helsinki was running it. And part of that grant is for like technology and stuff like that. You can get sponsorships from like tech companies to basically lend you out equipment. So that's why they had access to like various filming equipment and stuff like that. And they had
it worked amazingly, but it sounds like something that would be extremely difficult to replicate for every single Worldcon because it's so specific to that particular year.
I mean, that is what Claire's talking about, is that it would have to be a year-over-year thing. You couldn't just do it like, it would have to be its own organization for that reason.
Yeah, and also I think my whole thing was like, I know I've heard people saying it should be behind the paywall or it should be just for supporting members. I literally just think there should be a bunch of different like tiers of it. Like they already film a lot of things. Like they already live stream the Hugo Awards for everybody. They already film the opening and closing ceremonies. They already film all of the business meeting because that has to be accessible to everyone, including super supporting members, right? But there are plenty of things that could be released like as a podcast, right? Because they do podcast recordings live at Worldcon. And because you're not going to be able to do every single panel ever, right? Like it's not going to be possible in terms of the material, the cost of doing every single panel, but also just like if you have 5 panelists, you need to get consent from 5 panelists. There'll be a lot of panels that are just like out by 1 or 2 people, and therefore you don't record the whole thing, right? But you could have tiers where people are saying, I consent to have audio recorded, but not video, and that would be completely fine. And then you could have, I've heard people say you could have it preserved as an archive for like, and the bulk of the archive you'd have to pay for, but like the most recent year you could access. And then maybe you have 500 panel items, and out of those you get like, 10 filmed and like 100 recorded on audio or something like that. I mean, even
I
that.
would be interested in an archive, like
So
like that's
Paul
interesting.
is saying that he thinks that if we're recording panelists, that they should get paid. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. I think
I think people should get paid for coming to Worldcon as professionals, but that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But I think the way you do it is you take any proceeds from that fan fund and you use it first for replacement of any equipment that you do, and then the rest of it goes into a fan fund that's like, hey, if you have tech skills, we help cut boot. And we have if you have tech skills, but also accessibility issues, so you can't get to the con, we'll help cover some of your costs.
That's actually interesting to me. That I noticed. Just like I swear I'm not gonna talk about DEF CON every day, but what I noticed is that at DEF CON, in every panel there was a typist at the front who would type out and transcribe the panel as they
Yeah.
were talking, and there were like two of them, so that the first person would like type it out and the other person would correct the type out. And it was like on a screen so that people who were hard of hearing and stuff could like access and see what was being said. And I was wondering like if that was something that Worldcon could do, because I would have like,
I mean, that's amazing for accessibility. B, absolutely not, because do you know, like, I don't know, I can't tell you, but I'm asking, does anybody know how much like a simultaneous typist charges per hour to do what they do? Because you need to have two of them per room. There's like 20, 25 program items going on at the same time, and they're gonna need breaks. So like the scaling is the problem at Worldcon. There are a lot of things you can do that are great, like, you know, and I say this as somebody who volunteered for Dublin, who like believed that the team did a great job, and like is friends with James Bacon, who was the chair, and think you know, I personally James is somebody who tries really hard to do the right thing, and I genuinely trust him when he says like, I tried to make a decision and I made the wrong decision. But he made the wrong decision about having simultaneous typists at the Hugos. They needed to have people doing typing at the Hugos to have proper captions at the Hugos, and then you also need those people to have some kind of knowledge of SFF, so that's when somebody says, you know, Nedio Corafor, they're not confused and they know how to spell it and they don't have to look it up because that takes time. But, you know, they chose to have auto captions instead, which like literally anyone who was like a second language speaker could have told them that was a shitty idea, or anyone with any kind of you know, hearing, like hard of hearing disability or anything.
Yeah.
James has a really strong Irish accent. I don't know how he didn't realize captioning wasn't gonna work.
I mean, it's just one of those things, like it's definitely something to think about for the upcoming Worldcons. I really do agree with the perspective of, I think it's important for fan archiving, because I think that there's a real value in that.
And there's so much that we lose with Worldcon being so decentralized. Like I think actually I don't have time to do this project, so I like did a whole Twitter thread saying this is how you should set this up, and then I was like, I don't actually have time, so I'm not going to do it. But I think what I would do if I was going to do this project, what I would start with is I would start by doing a website that's a Worldcon fan archive, and I would start by doing a website that's like, here's where you can find, here's a link to, here's every single Worldcon, here's for every single Worldcon a link to the program, a link to like people's like write-ups about it, here's a link to any footage or audio that exists on the internet, so that it is centralized, because there is a lot of things, right? Like, you could do a really, like, yeah, the Helsinki Worldcon YouTube channel is great, but, like, if people don't know that it exists, like, you know,
I'm still
there's not a
subscribed to
centralized
that
Worldcon
channel.
website. There's not a Worldcon website or a Hugo. There's a Hugo Awards website, but it's independent from Worldcon. And there's not a Worldcon website that is, like, ongoing. You have to know the name of the Worldcon to go and look at the current website. It makes no sense.
I feel like
Dublin also has a YouTube channel.
I mean,
What was that, Rachel?
I say this is something that's been brought up a lot. I feel like I know, like every single Worldcon I've been to, there's been at least one panel that's just about people getting together to talk about how do we archive fandom? How do we do this? I mean, I think Bree, do you remember that one we stumbled into in Kansas City, and we ended up we left it early because it wasn't what we thought it was.
Yeah.
But it was basically a bunch of people all in one room going, we don't want to lose any of our history. How do we record this stuff?
Hey, do you know what would help?
And that's where I was also like, guys, everybody here is over the age of 70. I think you need to get some young people in to help you with this, because you're asking questions that have answers, but you have no idea that, like,
They even have answers.
You know what would really, really help with that?
But I mean,
Look
I
at
think
the
Yeah.
most successful archiving project fandom has done for many, many years, which is, hey, a Hugo Award-winning project, and then maybe not antagonize the shit out of them because
We're
they
not
are
gonna let's not talk
Yeah,
about
that
We're gonna
happened
get
too.
time. We could go on for ages about that. But no, I think that there is a huge need for exactly what Claire's just described, and I think it's a conversation that happens at every Worldcon, and it's kind of spinning its wheels at this point.
But the thing is, right, because of the issue right now with the Organization for Transformative Works and the AO3, right, because of the fact that the Mark Protection Committee, which is the body that takes care of the trademark of the Hugo Awards, they basically went in and basically yelled at people on Archive of Our Own for making jokes about being Hugo Award winners when it's the archive, it's not the fanfic writers, whatever. They made a big stink, right? For which they have almost no legal standing. And then this group of people, that's a really small group, but that's the group of people that is year on year on year on year, and that's the kind of they are, they're centralized, but they're not an official. It's not an official thing that you can volunteer for if you want to, and so those people have now attracted the attention of the Organization for Transformative Works. And the Organization for Transformative Works, being a body that is a non-profit, that is all volunteer run, and that whose business it is to archive fandom, are looking at Worldcon as a non-profit run by volunteer thing of fandom and going what is this? And this is why I was specifically thinking of decentralization, is because now we're having those conversations in transformative fan spaces where we're this does not work. Anyway, still mad about this.
Yeah, I mean, but it's good that we're actually starting to have these discussions in this age group, which means that it's trickling down from the 70-somethings to actually people who may have the passion and technical know-how to actually get shit done. Maybe, possibly. I mean, I could actually maybe if I actually brushed up on my typing skills and went to sit on the front row at the conventions, I could possibly try to transcribe some of that myself. But I'm only one person.
What Worldcon needs more than anything else is volunteers.
Yeah. For sure.
Yes, I keep saying that every year. This is the year that I will become involved, and then the year comes and I'm but I also just being, a random, convention goer who just doesn't have any sort of responsibilities ever.
That one.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
it's a double-edged sword again. Oh, sorry.
That's really why I don't think that Worldcon has, the capacity to even start with historicizing itself, because it's every year the way that it's run is everybody needs more volunteers. We're always running out of volunteers. We're always finding the volunteers on the day because people are used to coming in and volunteering on the day, and because so it's.
I was wondering, is the thing so you're running out of volunteers because the volunteers are not preemptively volunteering, or are you running out of volunteers because the con itself is growing?
There's a number of issues that plays. So I do a lot of volunteer organizing, and there's a lot of issues that will play into something like that are specific to both the event and kind of the culture. That it makes that a really complicated question.
If I remember correctly, when we were in San Jose, they were having difficulties getting enough volunteers, and when we were there, we were yeah, I can kind of see why. People didn't really want to volunteer.
Can you volunteer for just 1 or 2 days of the convention, or is it a thing where you have to commit to actually being on the call.
No,
for,
you
like,
can do whatever number of hours that you want to do if you're a volunteer. It's just that usually what they do is that they have volunteer rewards to entice people to be volunteers. And so they'll say something like, well, if you volunteer for more than 10 hours, you get a free coffee. And if you volunteer for more than 20 hours, you get a t-shirt or whatever. And obviously they'll also do something where they'll give you like, they'll give you convention vouchers, basically. Like they'll give you, they're called groats. They're like convention money, right? So they'll give you a little piece of paper that says, it was euros, obviously in Dublin, but I got €2 per volunteer hour that I did. So like in the end, I had a little stash of like, €30 or something like that I spent like buying, like a keychain and a necklace in the dealer's room. So that was nice. But, it's obviously like
I was
volunteers ain't
thinking,
getting paid, staff ain't getting paid, the speakers ain't getting paid. Like everybody is going there.
Yeah, I'm not like thinking about like because like I'm not, like the way conventions sustain themselves in Finland is that everyone's a non-profit and you basically get grants from the government and possibly volunteers may get like lunch vouchers or something if they're super lucky. But usually like you're not getting paid, you're doing it because you love the thing.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. That's why I said it's a little bit of both of the things that you said, right? I think it's also a question of scale that Worldcons are growing for sure. And I think, Worldcons is just used to doing things in a certain particular way. People expect certain things from a Worldcon. And so it'll be like,
Now I keep wondering what the Worldcon in like 20 years when we're starting to be like super middle-aged con grandmas, like how's that gonna look like?
I don't know.
Like that's the next science fiction project. Something. Oh God. I wanted to, before we go, I wanted to run this by you because me and Brie kind of and Di also had a little bit of a discussion about this before we went live. And I wanted to run this by you. How about when we do the October Sitch and Bitch, that we would make it a Halloween themed Sitch and Bitch and would dress up?
Yeah, I'm for that. That goes.
Yeah, like you could dress up any way you want, like in like you could interpret that in any shape or form, like as long as you're comfortable.
Like just a witch hat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or like an orange jumper.
No, I mean I have an entire Boggart Snape outfit, so it's fine.
I mean, I like if we're doing this, I'm going all out with the makeup and prosthetics and stuff, and I'm just gonna be like, hello.
I'm into it.
Yeah. I'm not doing the whole zombie thing again because that took ages, but I've sent you a picture, by the way, Brie, in the private chat.
Yes, I saw.
Because
I will just do a Bela Lugosi Dracula or something. Or Christopher Lee.
I have many costumes. I can do whatever.
But I think we're on your channel, Claire, next month.
Everybody dresses witches. You don't have a choice anymore. It's a project.
Oh, really?
I will dress
I
as a witch.
can dress up as a witch. I can dress up as a witch. I just got a cute little full moon Lolita dress. I can wear that.
Cute. Yeah, let's do that. I didn't realize it was my go.
Yeah, it's your turn.
Is it? I thought it was me next.
Is it gonna be a witch and bitch?
Nice. Well, obviously, we have to do that now. It's too good.
Well, Stitch and Witch.
Stitch
Oh,
and
I
Witch
like
too.
it.
Stitch and Witch too. Yeah.
I like
I
it.
can wear my Sally Skellington dress and sew it on myself as I go, like she does in the movie.
I like it. I
Yeah.
like it.
I like everything.
I have several costumes to choose from. It's fine.
Okay.
I
Well, I'm
like this idea.
Rachel, let me know because
According to our notes, I come after Bree and then Claire comes after me. But
I
whatever.
mean, I don't mind it all.
Regardless, I'm expecting anybody who's on this and like on our chat right now who knows that it's going to be a Halloween theme to send me their Halloween picture.
Yes.
I'm expecting that.
I'll
Just so you guys know.
then I don't have anything.
Okay. Well, I think we are up to our time. We are in fact over. But we will see everyone next month.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll let you know
Bye.
what channel. Bye.
Bye bye.